The Roman nose, aquiline. If you have a high, prominent bridge that curves slightly downwards, you possess the Roman nose. This shape is resembling the beak of an eagle, and that comparison is no accident. In fact, the word aquiline comes directly from the Latin word for eagle. If you possess this profile, you are wearing a natural shield. Biologically, that prominent bony bridge acts as a structural shock absorber, dispersing the force of physical impact better than any other nose ever could. It is a face literally evolved for the front lines, but inside, it's an engineering marvel. That curved interior creates specific aerodynamic turbulence. It forces air to swirl rather than rushing straight down, which gives your body extra time to trap dust and bacteria before they hit your lungs. It is the ultimate filtration system for the dusty, arid climates of the Mediterranean and Middle East. There is a reason this is the face of history. From ancient coins to classical statues, we have been conditioned for thousands of years to associate this shape with power, high testosterone, and dominance. If you are part of the roughly 9% of the population with this feature, you don't just have a nose, you have a built-in symbol of authority. The button nose. Now, if you were to walk into a plastic surgeon's office today and ask for the perfect nose, statistically, you would be asking for this one. It is estimated that roughly 14% of the global population has this feature, predominantly those with heritage from Northern and Western Europe. But why did nature design it this way? While other nose shapes are built for extremes, like battling intense heat or freezing cold, the button nose is the Goldilocks of evolution. It thrives in temperate, middle ground climates. The nasal passage is shorter and compact, meaning it doesn't need to aggressively filter or heat the air. It's efficient, streamlined, and built for environments where the weather is just okay. But the real power of the button nose isn't physical, it's psychological. Because it lacks a high bridge or a sharp bump, it makes the rest of the face appear wider and the eyes look larger. This mimics the facial proportions of a child. It's a trait that bypasses logic and hits the brain's emotion centers, signaling that you are safe, trustworthy, and approachable. While the Roman nose commands respect, the button nose commands affection. The Greek nose. Now we arrive at the unicorn of facial features. While we call this the Greek nose, a better name might be the artistic ideal, because finding it in real life is incredibly rare. We are talking about only 3% to 5% of the entire human population. Visually, it is defined by a perfectly straight bridge that draws a continuous line from the forehead to the tip without a single bump or curve. But why is this shape so obsessed over in history? Biologically, it is the ultimate example of aerodynamic efficiency. Unlike the Roman nose, which swirls air, the Greek nose creates what engineers call laminar flow. The air moves in a smooth, parallel stream. This reduces friction and turbulence inside the nasal cavity, meaning less irritation and less dryness for the mucous membranes. It is a breathing system designed for pure stability. But the real reason this nose is famous isn't biology, it's geometry. Ancient sculptors used this shape not because everyone in Greece had it, but because it fit the golden ratio, the mathematical formula for perfection. If you have this nose, your face inherently follows the rules of classical symmetry that our brains are hardwired to find beautiful. You aren't just lucky, you are living art. The wide nose. Now, let's talk about the heavy lifter of the respiratory world. It is the ultimate biological air conditioning unit. You can identify this shape by a broader bridge and nostrils that flare outward rather than tucking in. While modern beauty standards have often fluctuated, evolution has never been confused about this shape. It follows something called Thomson's rule, a biological law stating that nose width correlates directly with temperature. In hot, humid environments, like the rainforests of South America or the savannas of Africa, your body doesn't need to trap heat, it needs to dump it. The wide nose minimizes air resistance, creating a high-volume airflow that helps cool the blood going to the brain. It is a cooling system that prevents you from overheating during intense labor or hunting under a blazing sun. Socially, this feature carries a weight of its own. Because it takes up more horizontal space on the face, it is subconsciously perceived as grounded. In face-reading traditions, a wide nose and broad nostrils are often linked to emotional intelligence and expressiveness. It signals a person who is open, generous, and not afraid to take up space. It is the face of resilience. If you're learning anything, hit that subscribe button right now so you won't miss the next episodes. The upturned nose, the celestial. We reach the holy grail of modern beauty standards. In the world of cosmetic surgery, this is one of the most requested shape on the planet, often referred to by surgeons as the ski slope profile. What sets this apart isn't just the small size, it's the supra-tip break, a slight dip just above the tip that creates a gentle curve upwards. Biologically, this is an adaptation for bacterial resistance. Research suggests that the upward angle of the nostrils creates a specific airflow pattern that prevents airborne bacteria from settling in the lower nasal cavity. It is a nose that stays clean. But the reason this nose dominates your Instagram feed is purely psychological. It is the ultimate signal of neoteny, the retention of juvenile features. Because the nasal tip is elevated, it exposes the septum and makes the upper lip appear longer and the face more open. This triggers an immediate caregiving response in the human brain. While the Roman nose signals "follow me" and the Greek nose signals "admire me," the celestial nose signals "protect me." It is a feature that projects innocence, making the owner appear trustworthy, approachable, and biologically younger than they actually are. The bulbous nose. Now, let's address the elephant in the room, or rather the heavyweight champion of nasal types. In an era obsessed with sharp, chiseled tips, this shape is often unfairly labeled as undesirable. But if you have this feature, you are carrying a piece of evolutionary armor. That rounded, fleshy tip isn't just random volume. It is a dense network of connective tissue and sebaceous glands. Think of the bulbous tip as a thermal blanket for your airway. In cold, dry climates, a thin nose freezes. A bulbous nose, however, has extra insulation and blood flow surrounding the cartilage. This protects the tip from frostbite while creating a larger internal mixing chamber to warm freezing air before it hits your sensitive lungs. It is a nose built for survival in the elements. But here is where it gets interesting socially. While Instagram hates it, history loves it. This shape is statistically overrepresented among successful politicians and CEO. Why? Because a larger, rounded nose tip softens the face while increasing its surface area, making the person appear solid and grounded. It signals resilience, warmth, and a larger-than-life personality. You don't just have a nose, you have presence. The fleshy nose. If you look around a crowded room, this is the shape you are most likely to see. In fact, face-reading experts often refer to this as the Einstein nose. And yes, Albert Einstein rocked this exact shape. Visually, it is defined not by bone, but by volume. It lacks the sharp, bony definition of a Roman or Greek nose, appearing softer, thicker, and more padded. Biologically, this is the all-terrain vehicle of human faces. The extra thickness creates a natural barrier that makes the fleshy nose incredibly resistant to environmental stress. While thin-skinned noses bleed easily or turn red in the cold, the fleshy nose maintains its temperature and structural integrity. It is built for durability, not delicacy. But the real magic happens in how people treat you. Because the bony prominence is hidden under softer tissue, this nose lacks aggression. In physiognomy, the fleshy nose is the #1 indicator of empathy and generosity. It signals a person who is practical, helpful, and emotionally accessible. While other noses signal that you are a leader or a warrior, the fleshy nose signals that you are a provider. The Nubian nose. While it is most commonly associated with African ancestry, this shape is a masterclass in evolutionary engineering. It is defined by a fascinating contrast, a bridge that often starts narrower or straighter, which then flares out into a broad, impressive base with wide nostrils. Biologically, this is the ultimate high-performance cooling system. In hot tropical climates, the body's biggest enemy isn't the cold, it's overheating. The wider nostrils act like large exhaust ports, drastically reducing air resistance. This allows for massive volumes of air to cycle in and out of the lungs with zero friction, helping to regulate internal body temperature and expel heat faster than any other nose type. It is a respiratory design built for stamina in the heat. But socially, this nose carries a vibe of pure royalty. Historically, this profile is often linked to the statues of ancient pharaohs and leaders. Because the wide base takes up significant space on the face, it commands attention. It doesn't hide. In the language of facial features, the Nubian nose signals confidence, strength, and an expressive magnetic personality. It is the face of someone who was born to lead, not follow.